Have you ever noticed how some men seem to change completely after getting hurt just once? Not because they stopped caring, not because they gave up on love, but because something deep inside them shifted. That's why men who've been hurt once never love the same way again. The real question is, what exactly changes? And why do some men carry that change with them for years, even decades? In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden psychological impact heartbreak leaves behind, why men who've been hurt once never love the same way again, and what most people completely miss about it. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're a man who wants to better understand relationships, emotional strength, and human psychology, you're in the right place. We're also working toward our goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers, so join the community and help us get there. Topic 1. The moment everything changed. Most men can remember the exact moment something inside them changed. It wasn't necessarily the day the relationship ended. It wasn't always the moment she walked away. Sometimes it was a sentence, a betrayal, a discovery, a realization that hit like a punch to the gut. Before that moment, he believed love worked one way. After that moment, he started seeing it through a completely different lens. What makes emotional pain so powerful is that it doesn't just hurt, it changes perception. A man who used to trust easily may suddenly start questioning everything. He replays conversations in his head, looking for signs he missed. He wonders if he was too trusting, too available, or too willing to believe the best in someone. Little by little, the confidence he once had in love begins to crack. Most people think heartbreak only creates sadness. But for men, it often creates something much deeper, a shift in identity. The man who entered the relationship is rarely the same man who walks away from it. He may become more cautious, more independent, or more emotionally guarded. And those small changes often plant the seed for a silent decision that will shape every relationship that follows. Topic 2. The promise he never says out loud. After a painful experience, many men make a promise to themselves. The strange thing is, they rarely say it out loud. Most don't even realize they're making it. It forms quietly beneath the surface, in the middle of disappointment and confusion. The promise sounds something like this: I'm never going to let that happen to me again. At first, that promise feels smart. It feels like growth, like learning a lesson the hard way. And in some ways it is. Touch a hot stove once, and you naturally become more careful. But emotional wounds work differently. The mind doesn't just learn from pain. It often overcorrects. Instead of becoming wiser, a man can unknowingly become guarded in ways that affect every future connection. That's why some men begin holding parts of themselves back. They stop saying exactly what they feel. They become more selective with trust. They reveal less, test more, and observe longer before opening up. From the outside, it can look like maturity. Sometimes it is. But underneath that caution is often a fear that hasn't been fully understood yet. And that fear starts showing up in places he never expected. Topic 3. Why he starts hiding his real feelings. One of the biggest myths about emotionally hurt men is that they stop feeling. The truth is usually the exact opposite. They still feel deeply. They still experience loneliness, disappointment, hope, and affection. What changes is their willingness to show those emotions. After getting hurt, many men learn that exposing their heart feels risky, so they start keeping more of it hidden. The shift happens so gradually that they barely notice it. A man who used to share his worries openly now says he's fine when he isn't. He starts carrying everything on his own, convincing himself that independence equals strength. And while self-reliance is valuable, there's a big difference between being strong and being emotionally unavailable. What's interesting is that people around him may even praise the change. Friends might call him tougher. Others might say he's more focused or disciplined. But beneath that calm exterior is often a constant effort to avoid exposing the parts of himself that once got hurt. The problem is that the walls built to keep pain out usually end up keeping connection out too. Topic 4. When protection becomes a prison. At first, emotional defenses feel like the perfect solution. If vulnerability led to pain, then being more guarded seems logical. And for a while it works. He feels safer, more in control, less exposed to disappointment. But what many men don't realize is that protection and isolation often look exactly the same in the beginning. Over time, what started as caution slowly turns into a prison. He avoids emotional risks. He avoids difficult conversations. He keeps people at arm's length, not because he doesn't care, but because distance feels safer than uncertainty. The irony is that the habits designed to protect his heart end up preventing the very connection he secretly wants. Think of it like a castle. High walls make it hard for enemies to get in, but they also make it hard for friends to enter. Human beings work the same way. A man can spend years reinforcing emotional barriers and eventually find himself with a successful career, financial stability, and a well-controlled life, yet still feel like something important is missing. Topic 5. Why success becomes safer than love. After being hurt, many men don't stop searching for fulfillment. They simply change where they look for it. Instead of pouring their energy into relationships, they throw themselves into their careers, businesses, finances, fitness goals, or personal achievements. On the surface, it looks like a powerful transformation, and in many ways, it is. The reason is surprisingly simple. Success feels predictable. Work harder and results usually follow. Train consistently and progress shows up. Improve your skills and your income often grows. There's a clear connection between effort and reward. Love doesn't offer those guarantees. A man can give his all to a relationship and still end up heartbroken. That's why some men become incredibly successful while carrying unresolved emotional wounds. They master discipline, ambition, and self-control, yet still struggle with trust and vulnerability. The hard truth is that no amount of money, status, or achievement can fully replace genuine human connection. Topic 6. The fear that follows him into new relationships. One of the hardest truths about emotional wounds is that they rarely stay in the past. A man may leave the relationship behind, but the lessons, fears, and expectations often come with him. Without realizing it, he begins viewing new relationships through the lens of old experiences. This doesn't happen because he's bitter. It doesn't happen because he wants to sabotage love. Most of the time, he's simply trying to avoid repeating a painful mistake. He watches for red flags more carefully. He notices changes in behavior faster. He becomes skeptical when things seem too good to be true. As a result, some men start testing relationships without even realizing it. They hold back trust until they feel completely safe. They wait for proof that this person is different. The problem is that relationships were never designed to provide certainty from day one. They require a leap of faith, and that's where the real struggle begins. Topic 7. The battle between trust and self-protection. At some point, a hurt man realizes his biggest battle is no longer with the woman who hurt him. It's with himself. One part of him wants connection. He wants loyalty, companionship, and someone to share life with. But another part remembers exactly what happened the last time he fully opened his heart. That creates an exhausting internal tug-of-war. When someone gets close, he feels both hope and hesitation. He wants to believe, but he also wants to protect himself. He wants to trust, but he doesn't want to get blindsided again. It's like driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. What makes the struggle so difficult is that both sides sound reasonable. Trust involves risk, but isolation comes with a cost too. Self-protection may prevent heartbreak, but it can also prevent happiness. Eventually, many men realize that the goal was never to eliminate risk altogether. The goal was to become strong enough to handle uncertainty without letting fear run the show. Topic 8. Can a man ever love the same way again? The answer is both yes and no. No, because a man who has been deeply hurt rarely returns to the exact version of himself that existed before the pain. Life doesn't work that way. Experiences leave scars. They change perspectives. They teach lessons that can't be unlearned. But the answer is also yes. Not because he loves the same way, but because he can learn to love just as deeply from a place of greater wisdom. Real healing isn't about pretending the pain never happened. It's about reaching a point where the past no longer controls the future. A healed man doesn't stop being careful. He simply stops allowing fear to make every decision for him. In many ways, the strongest kind of love isn't the innocent love of someone who's never been hurt. It's the intentional love of someone who knows exactly what heartbreak feels like and still chooses to open his heart again. That's real courage, and it's one of the most powerful things a man can do. Conclusion. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it's this. Being hurt doesn't have to define the rest of a man's life. Pain can teach valuable lessons, but it should never become a permanent prison. The real question is, are you protecting your peace, or are you protecting your wounds? Are your decisions coming from wisdom or from fear? Take a moment and be honest with yourself. Have your past experiences made you stronger, or have they simply made you more closed off? Are there walls you've built that no longer serve you? And if the right person walked into your life tomorrow, would you be ready to let them in? Or would your past still be standing at the door making the decisions? If this video gave you a new perspective, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Have you ever gone through a heartbreak that changed the way you love? I'd genuinely love to hear your story. And if you're serious about becoming a stronger, wiser, and more emotionally resilient man, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We create videos designed to help men better understand relationships, psychology, confidence, and personal growth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.